Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. It was a cold, quiet evening when Emma walked into the upscale restaurant, the hum of conversation and the clink of silverware filling the air. The soft lighting cast a warm glow over the polished tables, each one set like a work of art. But Emma wasn't feeling like a part of this world. She tugged at the hem of her second-hand dress, the fabric fraying slightly at the edges. Her shoes were scuffed from too many shifts at the diner, and her fingers trembled with nerves. She had promised her best friend, Jenny, that she would go through with this blind date, but the discomfort of being out of place in such a fancy setting was hard to ignore. She looked around the room, scanning the tables. Table 7. Table 7, she murmured to herself, the words feeling like a mantra to calm her nerves. There, near the back of the restaurant, sat a sharply dressed man, his dark hair neatly styled, eyes focused on his phone. Emma took a deep breath and approached him, her heart racing. As she stood beside his table, she forced a smile onto her face. Hi, you must be Kevin. I'm Emma. Nice to meet you. The man, Liam Parker, blinked up at her, momentarily confused. He looked at her, unsure of what to say. Hi, Emma, he replied, his voice low. Emma, misreading his hesitation as shyness, sat down across from him and quickly started talking, her nerves making her words tumble out. I know this is awkward. Blind dates are weird, right? Jenny told me you might be a little quiet, so don't worry, I can talk enough for both of us. Liam opened his mouth to correct her, but hesitated. His business associate had just canceled their meeting, and something about Emma's warm, earnest smile made him pause. She was nothing like the polished, calculating women he was used to dealing with. Instead, she seemed genuine, down to earth. He decided to play along, offering a small smile. Right, blind dates are something else, he agreed. Emma laughed nervously, reaching for her water. Tell me about it. Jenny's been trying to set me up for months, but I've been too busy with work, you know? Waitressing, paying rent, trying to save a little bit here and there. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills. Liam's interest piqued. Waitressing, huh? What do you do exactly? I work at a diner, she replied. It's not much, but it's enough to get by. I want to open my own art studio someday, but that's a long way off. She gave a small, almost sad smile, the dream feeling distant and uncertain in the face of her current struggles. Liam studied her, intrigued by her openness and the way she spoke without pretense. That's cool, he said, leaning back slightly in his chair. Tech is a bit more, coding and apps, stuff like that. Oh, like apps? Emma asked, her face lighting up with curiosity. I'm terrible with computers, though. All that coding stuff, not my thing. Liam chuckled softly, the sound genuine. Yeah, I get that, he said, his voice warm. He found himself actually enjoying the conversation, the way she spoke with such honesty. There was no hidden agenda, no surface-level small talk, just real, raw conversation. It was refreshing. As they continued to talk, Emma shared stories about her life, her job at the diner, the people she worked with, the dreams she still held on to despite the tough reality she faced. For the first time in a while, Liam found himself genuinely interested, laughing at her jokes, listening intently to her words. She wasn't what he expected, but in a strange way, he was drawn to her. Just as they were beginning to ease into their conversation, Emma's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, her face paling as she read the message. Hey Emma, where are you? I'm at table 7, looking forward to meeting you. Kevin. She blinked, her cheeks turning red with embarrassment. She looked up at Liam, her voice barely above a whisper. You're not Kevin, are you? She asked, mortified. Liam's smile faltered for a moment, and guilt flickered in his eyes. No, I'm not. Emma's stomach dropped as the reality of the situation sank in. Oh my God, she muttered, standing up quickly. I'm so sorry. I sat at the wrong table. This is so embarrassing. She grabbed her coat, her face burning with shame. Liam stood up too, his expression a mix of regret and amusement. Emma, wait, he called after her, but she was already heading for the door, her footsteps hurried, her face flushed with embarrassment. He watched her go, feeling an odd sense of disappointment. Something about their conversation, the way they had connected so easily, left him wondering if he would ever see her again. And the thought bothered him more than he cared to admit. Back in her small apartment, Emma collapsed onto her couch, groaning into a throw pillow. Jenny peeked over her laptop with an amused expression. "That bad, huh?" she asked. Emma let out a frustrated sigh, her face hidden behind the pillow. "Worse. I sat at the wrong table, Jenny. I had a full conversation with some random guy thinking he was Kevin." Jenny stifled a laugh. "What happened?" Emma recounted the evening, her words tumbling out in a rush. "He was nice, actually. Funny too. But then I got the text from the real Kevin, and I just ran out of there like an idiot." Jenny raised an eyebrow. "Sounds like a rom-com setup." Emma groaned again, grabbing a pillow to cover her face. "I just hope I never see him again." But little did she know, that wasn't the last time she would see Liam Parker. The next morning, Emma sat on her small couch, still feeling the sting of embarrassment from last night's awkward encounter. She replayed the events in her head, cringing at the memory of running out of the restaurant. What a disaster. She should have known better than to trust a blind date. Jenny had tried to console her, but Emma couldn't shake the feeling that she had made a fool of herself. As she picked up her phone to check her messages, there was one from Jenny. Asterisk, "Hey, don't worry about it. Maybe it's a sign you'll meet someone amazing. Give it time." Asterisk. Emma sighed and put the phone down. She had so many things to deal with already, from paying rent to keeping the diner running. Meeting someone amazing seemed like a distant dream. Later that afternoon, Emma's shift at the diner felt longer than usual. She kept her head down, focusing on clearing tables and taking orders. The usual crowd came and went, and Emma found herself lost in the rhythm of the work, her mind drifting away from her personal life. Just when she thought she couldn't handle one more coffee refill, the bell above the door jingled, signaling a new customer. She glanced up and froze. Standing in the doorway was none other than Liam Parker. He stood there for a moment, scanning the room, before his eyes landed on her. A familiar pang of embarrassment hit her chest, but it was quickly replaced by curiosity. What was he doing here? Was he following her? As if reading her thoughts, Liam walked toward her, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Hey, Emma." He greeted her casually, as if they were old friends, not strangers who had met under the most awkward of circumstances. "I hope I didn't scare you off last night." Emma blinked, unsure of how to respond. "Liam, I didn't expect to see you here." He shrugged, still smiling. "I'm in the neighborhood. I thought I'd grab a bite to eat. Mind if I sit at the counter?" Emma quickly regained her composure and nodded, leading him to a seat. "Sure, right this way," she said, her voice a little shaky. As she walked back to the counter to prepare his coffee, Emma couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. She was still embarrassed, but there was something about Liam's easy demeanor that put her at ease. Maybe he wasn't so bad after all. She glanced at him over her shoulder, noticing that he was looking at her with an expression she couldn't quite place. "I have to admit, I didn't expect you to come back," Emma said, trying to keep the conversation light. She placed the coffee in front of him and gave him a small smile. Liam chuckled softly, stirring his drink. "I figured I owed you an apology for the misunderstanding. I was going to correct you right away, but I don't know. I just wanted to see where the conversation would go. You're not like the women I usually meet." Emma blinked at him, unsure if she should be flattered or uncomfortable. "I'm not like the women you usually meet?" she echoed. Liam leaned back in his seat, his eyes thoughtful. "No, you're different. You're real. And that's refreshing." Emma felt a flush creeping up her neck, but she tried to brush it off. "Well, I'm glad you find me refreshing," she said, her voice light but tinged with something else. Uncertainty, maybe. She wasn't used to compliments, especially from someone like Liam. The rest of the conversation flowed easily enough, with Emma asking about his work and Liam sharing a few stories about his life in tech. He was surprisingly open for someone who seemed so reserved last night. As they talked, Emma realized that despite their differences in lifestyle, there was a genuine connection between them. She wasn't sure where it would go, but for the first time in a while, she didn't feel like she had to be someone else. She could just be herself. As their conversation came to an end, Liam stood up and reached for his wallet. "I'll pay for the coffee," he said, but Emma shook her head. "No need, it's on the house." He raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure? I wouldn't want to impose." Emma smiled, feeling more at ease than she had in days. It's fine. Just consider it a thanks for not running away this time. Liam laughed, his eyes crinkling at the corners. Well, I'll admit, I almost did. But I'm glad I stayed. As he left, Emma watched him go, feeling a strange sense of anticipation. There was something about him, something she couldn't quite place, that kept drawing her in. It wasn't just his wealth or his good looks. It was the way he made her feel like maybe, just maybe, she could have a little more than what she had now. But she couldn't let herself get too carried away. She had her own life to focus on, and she wasn't about to let some rich guy change that. Still, as she cleared the table and returned to the back to finish her shift, she couldn't help but think about the strange turn her life had taken in just 24 hours. What had started as an embarrassing mistake was starting to feel a little more like fate. The following week, Emma found herself thinking about Liam more often than she cared to admit. Every time the diner's door jingled, her heart would skip a beat, only to be disappointed when it was just another regular customer. She hadn't expected to see him again after that strange encounter, but the thought of him lingered in her mind. She hadn't been able to shake the way he had looked at her, like she was something worth paying attention to. Her days at the diner were long, and the work was hard, but the distractions of life didn't leave much time for daydreams. Or so she thought. As the days passed, Emma began to notice little things. She caught herself checking her phone more often, hoping to see a text from Liam, even though she knew it was unlikely. She wondered why she felt this way. He was just a guy she met by mistake, right? One late afternoon, as the sun was beginning to set, Emma was wiping down a table when the familiar jingle of the door signaled the arrival of a new customer. She glanced up and froze. It was Liam again. This time, however, he wasn't dressed casually, but in a sharp suit, his hair neatly styled. He looked every bit the successful tech millionaire that he was. "Hey, Emma," he said, his voice warm. "I was hoping I could steal you away for a moment. Do you have time for a coffee break?" Emma blinked, still surprised by his presence. She quickly glanced around the diner, making sure things were running smoothly. The last thing she wanted was to leave her coworkers with too much of a workload, but she found herself nodding. "Sure, I can spare a minute." She led him to a quiet corner of the diner, away from the bustle of the lunch rush. Once they were seated, Emma couldn't help but feel self-conscious under his steady gaze. "You're looking different," she said, gesturing to his suit. "You clean up well." Liam chuckled, his smile genuine. "I clean up for work," he said. "I was in the area for a meeting, and I thought I'd drop by. I'm sorry if this is sudden, but I've been thinking about our conversation the other day." Emma felt a flutter in her stomach at his words. "Really?" she asked, unsure of what to expect. She hadn't been sure if he'd been sincere the last time they spoke, or if he was just being polite. Liam nodded, his expression serious. "I've been wanting to get to know you better, Emma. There's something about you that, well, it's hard to describe. It's refreshing." He paused. For a moment, as if weighing his next words. "I know we come from completely different worlds, but I don't think that should matter. I think we should give this a shot. I'd like to take you out sometime. On a real date, not some mistaken blind date." Emma's mind raced. She had never imagined someone like Liam would be interested in her. She wasn't some polished socialite. She was just Emma, the girl working at the diner, trying to keep her head above water. But something in his eyes told her that he wasn't just interested in her looks or her circumstances. He was interested in her. "I don't know what to say," Emma replied softly, feeling a mix of excitement and uncertainty. She wasn't sure if she was ready to step into a world so different from her own. She had enough on her plate as it was. But at the same time, the idea of spending time with someone like Liam, someone who saw her for who she was tempting. Liam smiled again, as if sensing her hesitation. "I understand. Take your time. No pressure. I just thought I'd ask. Maybe we can start with dinner? Or if you prefer, a coffee. No fancy restaurants. Just two people getting to know each other." Emma smiled, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders. It felt easy with Liam. It felt right. "Okay," she said, her voice quiet but steady. "I think dinner sounds nice." Liam's eyes lit up, and Emma couldn't help but laugh at how relieved he looked. "Great," he said. "I'll text you the details, and we'll figure out a time. No pressure, I promise." As he stood to leave, Emma felt a strange sense of hope blooming in her chest. This wasn't how she had imagined her life would turn out. She had always assumed her future would be a simple one. A small apartment, a steady job, maybe one day opening that art studio. But this felt different. For the first time, she wondered if maybe there was more to life than she had ever dreamed of. As Liam walked out of the diner, Emma couldn't shake the smile that tugged at her lips. She was about to step into unknown territory, but something told her it might be worth the risk. As she returned to her work, the world outside seemed a little brighter, a little more full of possibility. The days leading up to their dinner were a mix of anticipation and uncertainty for Emma. She had never expected her life to take such a sudden turn. From the moment Liam had walked into the diner and invited her to dinner, everything felt different. She couldn't help but replay the conversation in her mind, over and over again. Liam wasn't just another customer at the diner. He was someone who seemed to genuinely care about getting to know her. And that was something she wasn't used to. The evening of their date arrived, and Emma found herself standing in front of her closet, unsure of what to wear. She wasn't used to dressing up, especially not for someone like Liam. She had always kept things simple, a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, something that didn't attract too much attention. But tonight, she needed to look different. She needed to feel different. After some hesitation, she pulled on a simple but elegant dress, one she had picked up on sale months ago, but never had the chance to wear. It wasn't anything fancy, but it made her feel just a little bit special. As she finished getting ready, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was stepping into a world she didn't belong to. Her small apartment, with its peeling paint and mismatched furniture, felt like a stark contrast to the polished world Liam came from. She had to remind herself that tonight wasn't about pretending to be someone else. It was about being herself. When she arrived at the restaurant, she was surprised by how much it reminded her of the one where she had met Liam. The same dim lighting, the same quiet ambience. It felt like a place where people came to celebrate something important. As she stepped inside, she caught sight of Liam almost immediately. He was standing by the bar, his sharp suit making him stand out in the crowd. He smiled when he saw her, his eyes lighting up. "Emma, you made it," he said, his voice warm. She smiled back, her nerves still present but slowly easing away. "I did," she replied. "Thanks for inviting me." Liam gestured toward the table, his hands sweeping across the elegant dining area. "I'm glad you could join me. I know it's a little fancy, but I thought you might like it. Let's get seated and we'll talk." As they sat down, Emma felt the tension start to melt away. The conversation flowed easily, as if they had been friends for years. Liam didn't seem interested in talking about business or his wealth. Instead, they discussed everything from their favorite books to the places they wanted to travel. Emma couldn't help but be impressed by how down-to-earth he was, how genuinely interested in her life. It was a side of him she hadn't seen before, and it made her feel more at ease than she had in a long time. "I have to admit," Emma said, laughing softly, "I wasn't sure if you were serious when you invited me. I mean, we both know how blind dates usually go." Liam chuckled, his eyes twinkling. "I know what you mean. I wasn't sure either, but after that night at the diner, I knew I wanted to see you again. It's rare to meet someone like you, someone who's not afraid to be real." Emma felt her heart flutter at his words. It was the first time someone had said something like that to her, and it made her feel seen, not for her job or her appearance, but for who she truly was. They continued to talk, and as the evening wore on, Emma began to feel something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, she could be part of a world where she didn't have to pretend, where she could just be herself and still be appreciated. As they finished their meal, Liam reached across the table and took her hand in his. "I really enjoy spending time with you, Emma," he said, his voice softer now. "I know we come from different worlds, but I don't think that should matter. I think we're something worth exploring. What do you think?" Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest at his words. It wasn't the grand gesture she had expected from a millionaire, but it felt genuine, real. "I think we should see where this goes," she replied, her voice steady. Liam smiled, his eyes locking onto hers. "I'm glad you feel the same way." They sat in silence for a moment, their hands still connected across the table, the city lights outside twinkling like stars in the night sky. Emma realized that this moment, this simple, quiet dinner, had the potential to change everything. She wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was heading in the right direction. As the weeks passed, Emma and Liam found themselves spending more time together, each encounter feeling more natural than the last. They had started out as strangers, their first meeting an awkward mix-up, but now, they were becoming something more. They would meet for coffee, go for walks in the park, or simply talk late into the night, their conversations flowing effortlessly. Emma was still getting used to the idea of dating someone like Liam, a millionaire with a world of opportunities at his fingertips, but she couldn't deny the connection they shared. One afternoon, Liam surprised her with a phone call. "How would you like to spend the weekend with me?" he asked, his voice light but sincere. "I'm heading up to my family's estate for a little retreat, and I'd love for you to join me." Emma paused, uncertainty creeping in. The idea of spending the weekend with Liam, in his world, felt intimidating. She wasn't sure she belonged in a place like that, with people who had more wealth and influence than she could ever imagine. But she could tell from the way Liam spoke that he wasn't inviting her out of obligation. He genuinely wanted her there. "I don't know," she said, trying to hide the nervousness in her voice. "I'm not sure I'd fit in. Your family probably expects someone more polished." Liam chuckled softly, as if he knew exactly what she was thinking. "Emma, I've already told you. You don't need to be anyone else. I want you there because you're you. Not because of how you dress or where you come from. Just come and enjoy the weekend with me. No expectations." Emma felt a knot in her stomach loosen. She had spent so much of her life feeling out of place, trying to fit into situations that didn't feel right. But Liam was different. He had never made her feel anything less than comfortable. Maybe it was time to take a chance. "Okay," she said, a smile tugging at her lips. "I'll come. I'd like that." The weekend arrived, and as Emma packed her bag, she couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and anxiety. The thought of staying in a grand estate, surrounded by people who had more wealth than she could fathom, made her feel small. But she pushed those thoughts aside. She was going for Liam, and that was enough. When they arrived at the estate, Emma's breath caught in her throat. The mansion was stunning, sprawling, elegant, and surrounded by lush gardens. It was nothing like her apartment or the small, familiar world she was used to. She felt like she had stepped into a different reality. Liam noticed the way she was looking around and smiled. "I know it's a lot to take in," he said, "but I promise you, no one cares where you're from or what you're wearing. They just care about whether you're a good person. And I already know you are." Emma nodded, trying to calm her nerves. Liam's words meant more than he probably realized. He was always so reassuring, making her feel like she truly belonged. She followed him inside, her heart racing as they walked through the grand hall, past paintings and sculptures that looked like something out of a museum. That evening, they attended a small family gathering in one of the estate's grand rooms. Liam introduced her to his family, and to her surprise, they were nothing like the stiff, judgmental people she had imagined. They were warm, welcoming, and genuinely interested in her life. She talked to Liam's cousins, aunts, and uncles about her dreams of opening an art studio, and they listened with encouragement. The more time she spent with them, the more she realized that the only person who had ever made her feel out of place was herself. After dinner, as the sun set and the evening grew cooler, Liam led Emma outside to the garden. The air was crisp, and the garden was bathed in the soft glow of lanterns. They walked along the winding path, the sounds of crickets and rustling leaves filling the air. "I'm glad you came," Liam said, breaking the silence. "I know it's not easy to step into my world, but you're doing great. I've never felt more at ease with anyone." Emma smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "I'm glad I came too," she said softly. "It's not so scary here, like I thought it would be." Liam stopped and turned to face her, his expression serious. "Emma, I know we've only known each other for a short time, but I can't help but feel like I've found something special. You're more than just a pretty face, more than just a person from a different world. You're the one I've been looking for, and I want to keep exploring us. What do you think?" Emma felt her heart race. She wasn't sure if she was ready to admit how she felt, but the truth was, she was starting to see a future with Liam in it. She wasn't sure where it would go, but for the first time in a long time, she believed in the possibility of something real. "I think," she began, taking a deep breath, "I think I'm ready too." Liam's smile widened, and he stepped closer, taking her hand in his. As they stood there in the garden, surrounded by the serenity of the estate, Emma realized that the world she had once felt so out of place in was now a world she was starting to feel at home in. And maybe, just maybe, this was where she was meant to be. The next few weeks were a whirlwind for Emma. After that weekend at the estate, everything seemed to shift. She had gotten used to the idea of being with Liam, and though she was still adjusting to his world, she began to feel more confident in their relationship. They spent more time together, talking about everything from their childhoods to their hopes for the future. The connection between them was undeniable, and Emma found herself thinking about him constantly. One evening, as they sat on the couch in Liam's penthouse, sipping wine and watching a movie, Liam turned to her with a serious look in his eyes. Emma noticed the change in his demeanor immediately. There was something different about the way he was looking at her, something that made her heart skip a beat. "Emma," he began, his voice softer than usual. "There's something I need to tell you. Something important." Her stomach fluttered with nerves. "What is it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam took a deep breath before speaking again. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about everything we've been through together. I don't want to take things too fast, but I also don't want to hide how I feel. I care about you, Emma, more than I've ever cared about anyone before." Emma's heart raced as his words sank in. She had always known there was something special about their connection, but hearing him say it out loud made everything feel real. She had been afraid of moving too fast, of letting herself fall too deep too soon. But in that moment, she knew she was already there. "I care about you too," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "More than I ever thought I could." Liam smiled, his eyes lighting up with relief. "I'm glad you feel the same way. But there's something else I need to tell you. Something that I've been keeping from you." Emma frowned, her mind racing with possibilities. "What do you mean?" Liam stood up and walked over to the window, his back to her as he stared out at the city skyline. "I've been hiding my true identity from you," he said, his voice filled with a quiet intensity. "I didn't want you to think I was just another rich guy trying to impress you. I wanted you to get to know me for who I am, not what I have." Emma's confusion deepened. "What are you talking about?" Liam turned around to face her, his expression serious. "I'm not just a tech guy. I'm the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. I own the tech firm that everyone talks about. And I've been keeping that from you because I didn't want to scare you off." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She stared at him, trying to process what he had just said. You're a billionaire?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Liam nodded, his gaze unwavering. "Yes, but that doesn't change how I feel about you. I didn't want you to feel like you had to be with me because of my money or my status. I wanted you to see me for who I really am, the guy who cares about you, who wants to build something real with you." For a long moment, Emma said nothing. She had known Liam was successful, but she hadn't realized just how successful he was. The idea of being with someone so powerful and wealthy made her feel small, insignificant even. But at the same time, she knew that Liam wasn't just any wealthy man. He had always been kind to her, genuine in his feelings. He had never treated her like a gold digger or a project. "You're still the same person I've been getting to know," Emma finally said, her voice steady now. "I don't care about how much money you have. I care about who you are." Liam's face softened, and he crossed the room to sit next to her again. He took her hand in his grip firm but gentle. "I'm glad you feel that way," he said. "Because this is real for me, Emma. I want to build a life with you. One that's not based on money or status, but on love and trust." Emma looked into his eyes, her heart swelling with emotion. She had never expected any of this. She had never expected to meet someone like Liam, someone who made her feel special, valued, and loved. It was overwhelming, but in the best way possible. "I want that too," she whispered. "I want to be with you, no matter what." Liam smiled, a genuine smile that made her feel like she was the only person in the world. "Then let's make this work. Let's take it one day at a time and see where it goes." As they sat together in the quiet of the penthouse, Emma realized that this was only the beginning. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. As the weeks went by, Emma and Liam continued to grow closer, and their relationship began to feel more natural than ever. They spent almost every day together, whether it was attending events or simply enjoying quiet evenings in. Emma had started to feel more comfortable in Liam's world, even though she still felt like an outsider at times. His world of luxury and success was so different from hers, but Liam never made her feel like she didn't belong. He constantly reassured her that what mattered most to him was her heart, not her circumstances. But as their bond deepened, Emma couldn't help but notice a subtle change in Liam. He seemed more distant at times, more distracted. His phone rang constantly, and there were moments when he would zone out during their conversations, his mind clearly elsewhere. Emma didn't want to bring it up at first. After all, he was a busy man, but it started to eat away at her. One evening, after a quiet dinner at his penthouse, Emma decided she couldn't keep ignoring the feeling that something was off. She sat down next to Liam on the couch, her voice soft but determined. "Liam, is everything okay? You've been acting different lately." Liam turned to look at her, his expression filled with guilt. "I'm sorry, Emma," he said, his voice low. "It's just, things at work have been intense. There's a lot going on with the company right now. I've been trying to juggle everything, and I didn't want to burden you with it." Emma's heart sank, but she tried to keep her composure. "You don't have to protect me, Liam. We've been through a lot together. If something's wrong, you can tell me." Liam ran a hand through his hair, looking frustrated. "It's just, I've been trying to keep the company afloat. We've been hit with a series of challenges, and honestly, I'm not sure how much longer I can keep up with everything. I've been so focused on work that I've been neglecting the people who matter most to me, including you." Emma felt a pang in her chest as she reached out to take his hand. "I understand," she said softly. "I know your work is important, but so are you. We can face things together, Liam. You don't have to go through this alone." Liam's eyes softened as he looked at her. "I don't deserve someone like you," he admitted quietly. "You've been so patient, so understanding. I feel like I'm not giving you the attention you deserve." Emma shook her head, her grip on his hand tightening. "Liam, don't say that. I'm here because I want to be. I care about you, and I'm not going anywhere. We'll figure this out together. You're not alone in this." Liam's shoulders relaxed slightly, and he leaned into her, his forehead resting against hers. "I don't know what I would do without you, Emma. I'm so lucky to have you in my life." Emma smiled, her heart swelling with love for him. "We're a team, remember?" she said softly. "We'll face whatever comes next together." For a moment, they sat in silence, simply holding each other, the weight of the world momentarily forgotten. But Emma knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Liam had a lot on his plate, and the challenges of his work weren't going to disappear overnight. Still, she was determined to be by his side. They would face the ups and downs together, no matter what. The following days were filled with ups and downs. Liam threw himself into solving the problems at work, attending meetings, and making tough decisions. Emma supported him as best as she could, offering a listening ear and comforting him when the stress became overwhelming. She knew how hard he was trying to keep everything together, but she also knew that he couldn't do it all alone. One evening, as they sat together after a long day, Liam finally looked at her with a mixture of gratitude and determination. "I don't want to keep you in the dark, Emma. I want you to know what's going on with the company. I'm not going to hide it from you anymore." Emma nodded, her heart swelling with pride for him. "Whatever it is, we'll handle it together." Liam smiled, squeezing her hand. "I'm glad I have you by my side. You give me strength when I feel like I'm running out." In that moment, Emma realized that their love wasn't just about the good times or the fancy dinners. It was about supporting each other through the tough times, facing the challenges together, and never giving up on one another. And as the days went on, she knew that no matter how difficult things got, they were in this together. She was ready to stand by him, every step of the way. As the weeks went by, things started to settle down for both Emma and Liam. The stress from Liam's work seemed to ease a bit, and the company's challenges were slowly being addressed. Liam was still putting in long hours, but he made more time for Emma, and they found a balance between his responsibilities and their relationship. They had become a team, facing the highs and lows together. Emma could see the toll that the pressures of his life were taking on him, but she admired his determination to keep going. One evening, after another long day of work for Liam, they found themselves sitting together on the balcony of his penthouse, the city lights twinkling below them. Emma leaned against the railing, the cool evening breeze brushing against her face. Liam sat beside her, his posture slightly hunched from exhaustion, but there was a calmness to him that hadn't been there before. "I've been thinking," Liam said, breaking the silence. "I don't want to keep going through life like this. I don't want to be defined by my work or my company. I want something more. I want us." Emma turned to look at him, sensing the seriousness in his voice. "What do you mean?" she asked, her heart beating a little faster. Liam took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. "I've spent so much of my life focused on building this empire, trying to prove myself. But in the process, I've neglected the things that really matter. You matter, Emma. What we have matters." He paused, looking her in the eye. I don't want to wait any longer. I want to build a future with you, one that's not about business deals or money. One that's about us, about love and happiness. Emma felt a rush of emotion flood her chest. His words, so raw and genuine, touched her in ways she hadn't expected. Liam, she didn't know what to say. The idea of a future with him felt like a dream come true, but it also scared her. She had never imagined that her life would take such a turn, that she would find herself standing next to a man who was willing to put everything on the line for love. I'm ready for that future, too, Emma said, her voice soft but steady. I've never been more ready for anything in my life. Liam smiled, his eyes lighting up with relief and joy. He took her hand in his grip firm but gentle. Then let's make it happen. No more waiting. No more uncertainty. I want you by my side, Emma. Always. As they stood there, hand in hand, Emma realized that this was the moment she had been waiting for. The moment where everything came together, where the struggles and doubts faded away, and all that was left was the undeniable truth that they were meant to be together. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she felt certain that whatever came their way, they would face it together. In that quiet moment on the balcony, with the city below them and the stars above, Emma knew that they had crossed a threshold. Their journey was just beginning, but she was ready. She was ready for the love, the challenges, and everything in between. They were no longer just two people from different worlds. They were a team, and nothing was going to stand in their way. The days that followed felt like a dream. Emma and Liam were inseparable, each day bringing them closer together. They shared moments of laughter, quiet conversations, and the kind of connection that only seemed to deepen as time went on. Liam had made it clear that his priorities had shifted. He no longer wanted to be defined by his wealth or his company, but by the love they had found in each other. For Emma, the life she once thought was out of reach now felt like something she was truly living. It wasn't about the fancy dinners or the grand gestures. It was about the simple moments they shared, the small, everyday things that made life worth living. One evening, as they sat together on the balcony once again, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Liam turned to her with a soft smile. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Emma's heart skipped a beat as she looked at him, her breath catching in her throat. He opened the box, revealing a beautiful diamond ring, sparkling in the fading light. Emma, Liam began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. From the moment we met, I knew my life had changed. You've brought something into my world that I didn't even know I was missing, real love. You've shown me that there's more to life than success, and for that, I will be forever grateful. I don't want to wait any longer. Will you marry me? Emma's eyes filled with tears as she stared at the ring, then back at Liam, her heart overwhelmed with love and happiness. She had never expected this, never imagined that her life could take such a beautiful turn. She had spent so many years believing that happiness was out of reach, but now, here it was, standing before her in the form of a man who truly loved her. Yes, she whispered, her voice barely audible as she took a step forward, her hand trembling as she placed it in his. Yes, I will marry you. Liam's face lit up, and without hesitation, he slid the ring onto her finger. They stood there for a moment, surrounded by the quiet beauty of the evening, holding each other close as the world around them seemed to fade away. Emma had never felt more certain of anything in her life. This was it, the moment that would define their future together. The wedding came sooner than either of them expected, but it was perfect in its simplicity. They exchanged vows surrounded by their closest friends and family, the love between them undeniable. As they stood there, hand in hand, Emma realized that life had a way of surprising her. The journey she had once thought would be ordinary had turned into something extraordinary, all because she had opened her heart to love. As they danced their first dance as husband and wife, Emma felt the weight of the world lift from her shoulders. She wasn't just a waitress from a small town anymore. She was Liam's wife, someone who had built a life of love and happiness with a man who cherished her for exactly who she was. And in that moment, she knew that whatever came their way, they would face it together, as a team, with love as their guide. Looking into Liam's eyes, Emma realized that the love they had was more than enough to build a future. It wasn't about the money or the status. It was about the bond they had created, the love that had blossomed from a chance meeting, and the promise of a lifetime together. And as they stood on the dance floor, surrounded by their loved ones, Emma knew that this was just the beginning of their story, one that was built on love, trust, and the unwavering belief that they were meant to be together.